Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to everyone. We are so happy to have you here at USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. Talking Heads is a platform where experts from around the world come and share their knowledge, their expertise, and their success with us, along with key learnings. They have their own 30-minute show. And joining us today, our expert presenter is Roland Friedl. Let's welcome him to the program. Hi, Roland.
Hello, Dr. Jacqueline. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you as well. And just for everyone who's joining us for the first time, please do tune in an hour earlier if you're available, and you can watch our show, The Mallorca Connection, that Roland and I co-host together, and always have a fabulous show with really wonderful guests who share so much information that's of value and interest. So do join us. Please mark that on your calendar. All right, Roland, are you ready to do your show?
Yes, I'm always ready, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to go backstage and give you your deck. Here you go.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 6. For those who are here on the first time, I started 5 episodes before about a topic I strongly believe that is very, very important. It's the prime issue of a human being is control of attention. My name is Roland Friedl. As you can hear from my accent, I'm not an English native speaker. I'm born and raised in a beautiful small country in the middle of Europe, in Austria. So I'm an Austrian. But I see myself as a world traveler. I always traveled around the globe because I always was eager to learn different cultures and insights from different countries and languages. I was always traveling around to get a lot of expertise in different areas because I was always willing to learn, especially to listen to others and learn from them. So my background is I am the founder of Spartan Performance Systems. This is a training company that is more than 3 decades on the market. We are based in Switzerland, and we coach, train, facilitate. So we support our clients around the globe. Most of them are huge international companies, but we also love to work with small enterprises, single entrepreneur companies, or startups. So what we've been talking about the last episodes is, as I said, the module is called Performance Under Pressure, Control of Attention. And as I already mentioned, the prime issue is control of attention. We are all distracted. In business, privately, it doesn't matter. We all have distraction. We all have challenges. And it doesn't matter what your background is, how much business you're doing, how large your organization is. We all face challenges and distractions. And the successful ones know this and know how to handle and to manage this. But we all have challenges, as I said before. So the last episodes, we have talking about, how to get control of attention, how we get distracted. We learned about the main task of the manager to focus on when we go back from our distractions. We heard about the negative content loop, how to recognize that we are in a negative content loop. So we learned about every time when we or our team members don't have clarity about a task, when they don't have the proper information, the proper data, then they start to have negative thoughts about it. Maybe they just I missed the word for it. Sorry for that. So maybe they're just trying to understand, or they don't have the right data. So they are speculating about things, but they don't have the right data. So this brings negative thoughts, and this negative thoughts brings them to a negative emotion. And this negative emotion can be so overwhelming that it results at the end in negative behavior. But at the negative behavior, we can see that we are caught in this negative content loop. And if you want to learn more about this, please go back maybe on the YouTube channel, and there are all the recordings. You find the sessions of the previous 5 episodes. But today we're going to focus on pressure points. As we said in the last episode, we ourselves or our team members can always be triggered. And as I mentioned, we don't have the whole data, we don't have clarity about the task. Then we start making our own thoughts and making our own belief system. This is not good because this brings us mostly in a negativity. This brings us to negative emotions, and this results in negative behavior. So today we are talking about pressure points, meaning what triggered us to get in this negative content loop. And those of you who joined all the other sessions before, they know we always do this on the format system, meaning on 4 different steps. First of all, we talk about why is it important to understand pressure points. We mentioned what is it, what are pressure points, how we are doing it, how we are handling it, and then we make a short future pace. What if I adapt this to make it work for me, for myself, and for my team in general? And this will about last the next 20-25 minutes. Okay, let's get started. Why is it important to recognize and handle pressure points? First of all, simply because you can't fix and solve what you don't know exactly. So having clarity, what triggers you or your team members is very critical, is very, very important to be aware of it. Mostly we're triggered, especially when you're working in teams with different personalities, with different characters. It's very important to understand by just listening to them, observing them, when they're not behaving well, when they have a strange behaving, like they're escaping from a work, or they get passive, or even maybe they get aggressive by voice or whatever, meaning that they're in a negative content loop. And we have to understand what triggers them to get in this negative content loop, because otherwise we can't help them. So we have to know it, and that's why it is so important to have a deeper look at it. So what is it? What are pressure points? Pressure points in general are events or issues or situations that trigger off very strong emotional responses, usually by making us feel under threat or at risk in some way. Okay, so just repeat this because it's really critical. So pressure points are events or issues or situations in general that trigger off strong emotional responses for ourselves or for team members, as I said before, usually by making us or team members feel under threat or at risk in some way. And that's what I mentioned before. And this can cause a loop, meaning these trigger points can cause negative thoughts because we don't have clarity. We are triggered. We have a very strong emotional response that can overwhelm us and lead to negative behavior, which is not very supportive and helpful to stay on task, to perform, and to have control of attention. These are trigger points or pressure points. So let's have a look how to handle it and what they are exactly. They go a little bit deeper. Before we start, maybe you have the situation, feeling yourself that you're in a negative content loop, in a negative mood at work, or team members are not behaving like they did normally, especially when changes are companies and different challenges occur. And maybe you experienced this for yourself or your team members the last 2 years, because this has been really challenging time. The pandemic has been really challenging, not only in business, but also privately. It really has an impact on all situations in life, in business, in private, in family life. And this triggered many people, and some of them really couldn't handle it. So let's have a deeper look about pressure points and how we're going to handle them. What can be main pressure points in business? Let's start on the top with non-alignment. What can trigger people is when they are not aligned with your goals, with your vision that you set for your company or for the team, depending on what's your responsibility. It's your company, or you're just responsible for a certain department where you're leading a team. Okay, so when people are not aligned with the agenda, meaning when they're not aligned with the goals you set for them, or even with the plan, the strategic plan or the action plan, when they're not aligned, this can trigger people. So it is very important, and we will go deeper in the next episodes, but it's very, very important that you have a very clear conversation. When you communicate to your team members, you have a very clear communication about what is the mission, which direction you're heading with your team or with your company, where are you going, what is the exact strategic plan, what is the action plan, what is your expectations for each team member to have a good contribution to the team performance. So it's very critical to have a very clear conversation, because when team members don't get clear informations, clear data, then they find their own ways to gather data, and that's not always the best way, meaning that they're starting to having their own thoughts about what you might have said or might have wanted from them. And this can, as I mentioned before, trigger them and bring them into a negative emotional response that can be so overwhelming that they're not staying on task anymore, that they're absolutely distracted and show maybe a negative behavior, as mentioned before, like escaping from a task or just being passive or getting aggressive at the worst. So non-alignment is one point I see very, very often when I talk to leaders and when I speak to team members, that they are not aligned with the company politics, with the company maybe culture, with the company goals, how they enter market, how they approach a client, how they deal with different situations. So when team members are not aligned, this is really a red zone. So be very clear about it and find a very, very short-term conversation with this person, so this person gets clarity. Yeah, really, you have to sort this out as soon as possible, because this can be very toxic, because this person starts to talk with other team members, and this can be very toxic for your whole team. Okay, so one point is non-alignment. About the agenda, it can occur conflicts, and as I said before, in different areas. On the company's goal, the vision, the mission, the strategic plan, the action plan, whatever it is, non-alignment is one point. The second point, from my own experience, is a very strong one, because people get triggered by change. Most people can't handle change. When I talk about myself, I love changes, I love challenges, I love changes, because for me, changes always challenge me, and I love challenges, but most people can't handle changes. And we saw it during the pandemic. There have been lots of change. People had to work from home remotely, not seeing their colleagues anymore in the office, staying at home, insecurity with the job, insecurity in the business, insecurity how to work, insecurity how to get support by the management, insecurity how to communicate with the customers. Can I call them or not? When you're sales, for example. So there was a lot of insecurity. People are very triggered. Most people are very triggered by changes. And this can be internal changes within the company. Let's say you change the system. Right now I have a coaching client, a GM of a huge company, and he said his team is so triggered because they bring in not only a new, but for the first time, a CRM, a customer relationship management program, a CRM, and not all, but many of the team members are really triggered by that. So change is always a trigger for most people. Like internal change, when you change a system, maybe when there's a change in the management, maybe there's a change in the compensation plan, maybe there's a change in the communication channels, whatever it is. So there are internal changes that trigger people, but there are also external changes, meaning like a pandemic that came from outside, or a new competitor that's coming into the market, or from the customer side there are changes, from the marketing side there are changes, there can be legal changes, whatever it is. So people are always triggered by changing, no matter if they're internal or external one. So also here, when there's changing coming, especially internal, when you as a leader in control of that, please have a very clear communication about that. Because if data is not clear for your team members, they will make their own thoughts. And as we heard before, that's not always the best way. So have a very, very clear communication when there are changes. explain them exactly what kind of changes are coming, why they are coming, how to deal with them, how to handle it, how to implement it, how to adapt it. Really, really focus on the clear communication. And also when there are external changes, also please involve the team and have a clear communication on that, so there's less chance that they get triggered by that, by going into this negative content loop, being distracted and not performing as they are supposed to be. Other trigger points can be traumas. Of course, personal trauma can be a trigger point. Physical trauma, personal trauma can be, for example, family issues. Children have problems in school, or they get hurt, or I don't know, somebody passed away from your family, from your beloved ones, or personal trauma can be a very, very strong trigger point. And sometimes, we have team members, they're not very open, they're not communicating very open. So we always see people that when they face challenges, they don't speak about them. They try to fix them by themselves. So they don't want to bother their colleagues or you as a leader, but they are facing traumas. So be aware of this. When you see a difference in the behaving, in the attitude of the people, have a clear conversation with them, ask them, and tell them, I see that you are behaving differently. What's on? Let's have a clear conversation, face-to-face conversation, and get into coaching and, hey, I want to help you. What exactly triggers you? Do you have any personal traumas, or what's going on? Okay, have a clear conversation with them. And also, this conversation gives you very clear feedback about you as a leader, meaning, does your team member trust you, not only in business but also on a private level? Okay, so personal traumas can trigger yourself and team members, but also physical traumas. When you get sick, when you get, for example, you get COVID, or you get insured, or I don't know, whatever physical trauma that can happen can also trigger people. Some people cannot handle their physical traumas. And yeah, so be aware of that, be aware of traumas. And from my own experience, I can tell you, really learn to communicate with your team members, and meaning by that, become a listener, an elevated listener, by the way. It's the best way. Listen in between the lines. As I said before, not all people are very open and they're always talking about their problems. So some people are very close, and they just want to bother you. So open them, talk to them, build up trust, build up confidence, talk to them, and maybe you can help them sort them out, their problems. Okay, so we have non-alignment. People are non-aligned, can be a trigger point. We have changes. I think this is one of the strongest ones, is changing. Most people really are triggered by changes. And of course, their personal traumas. So let's get to the next one, systems. Systems can be a pressure point, meaning when people don't like the support from the company, when they have technical issues, when the IT is not working, when the computer is not working, when their CRM, all this IT solutions they're using company is not working, or when processes are not optimum, when there are pain points in the processes, in the different processes each company, each organization has. This can be a trigger too. So sort this out. You always have people, not in general, but people who always feel like a victim, and it's not their fault, it's always the system's fault, it's a technical issue, it's a procedural issue. Yeah, this can happen too. So find this out. If this is a trigger point for some of your team members, fix it, solve it if you can, or at least explain them why it is like it is, and explain them how you can help and support them, that they can overcome these challenges and can do their best to perform. So systems is also one. I can tell from my own experience, when I facilitate trainings with new people, we always do when we start is after the introduction phase, when everybody introduces himself or herself. I always do an exercise. I call it a bad day in the office. I do this exercise to give them the chance to talk about stuff that really bothers them, because when you don't handle it in the beginning of the seminar, it can always pop up, and maybe it pops up on a moment where it's not useful when you go through a process of learning and developing and implementing and growing. So I always start with a bed in the office, and I always ask my delegates, doesn't matter in classroom or virtually, write down what made you a bed in the office. So when you come home in the evening or whenever from the office, whatever happened in the company or on the way to your job or on the way back, what bothers you, what made you feel that it was not a perfect day. And then people are writing down everything, whatever it is. Some people feel more like the victor, they do more, writing more, some less. It's interesting to observe them anyway. It's a good learning for you as a leader, as a training, but also for themselves. And what I see very often that bothers them are system stuff. Yeah? So trigger points, system, technical issues, procedural issues. That's where I hear very, very often. So be aware of that. And well, from a coaching aspect, what I can give you on hand is when systems is a trigger, tell them that they should focus on things. Of course, you're always trying to deliver the best resources so that your team members can perform. But the larger the organization, the more difficult it is to change technical stuff and processes. So help them out and tell them, focus on things you can control instead of focusing on things you can't control, because this is really stressful. And when you focus on things you can't control, you are totally distractions. Yeah. You have no control of attention. And by the way, if you want to learn more, your team members, go back on the recordings on episode 2, for example, and 3, you will learn more about that and go deeper on that. Okay, so systems can be a trigger point. And last but not least, what also can be a trigger point is outcomes. People can be triggered by outcomes, meaning they're overwhelmed, they're not happy with their performance, they're not satisfied for any reason. So they're not happy with their outcome, they're not happy with the team outcome, they're not happy with the general performance of the company. This can be a trigger point. They can also be triggered by targets, meaning the target can be too high, too hard to reach for them. This can overwhelm our team members and trigger them. But also, some people can also be triggered by targets that are too low for them. So, well, they say, okay, that's not good for the self-esteem. They want to higher targets. Okay, so be also aware that outcomes can also be a trigger, like general outcomes, but also the targets for the client, especially when you're very sales-driven organization. Have a clear conversation with each team member, with each sales representative, with each key account or whatever you name them or give them title, about targets. Are they okay for them? Because their targets should be a goal to reach, and not a pressure point that triggers them to get overwhelmed in an emotional process and behave badly and lose totally control of attention. Okay, so these are the main 5 trigger points, and there may be other ones, but you always can have them under these 5. So just summarize them shortly. As I said, pressure points, trigger points are situations, issues, events that occur and have and trigger off very strong emotional reactions that lead to negative behavior. And it's important to recognize them and sort them out, especially when you, as a leader, when you're triggered, now you know how you can get out of it. But also when team members get triggered by pressure points. And the 5 main are that people are not aligned with your goals, with your strategies, with your action plans, or people are really triggered, and that's what I said, it's critical. Most people are really triggered by changes, internal or external changes. People don't love changes. I do, but I'm exceptional, like few others, but most people don't like changes, they cannot handle them. Then we have traumas, personal traumas, and physical traumas that can trigger what is clear to understand. Also, trigger point can be systems that people are not happy with, the technical support, with the IT, for example, with IT solutions, with tools they're using, or they're not having with processes. Some people think there's a pain in the process is not supportive for their performance. So this can be a trigger point. And as I mentioned last but not least, the outcome can be a trigger point, that they're not happy with the outcome, their own outcome, with their own performance, with the outcome of the team or the company, or with the targets they get, with the targets they get that might be too high or too low for them. Okay, these are pressure points. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you want to go deeper and need a coaching and consulting for your organization, your team members, I'm more than happy to help you out with my team. So let's have a future check. What if I adapt this to make it work for myself and my team? My first tip is, please don't try to therapy your team members. Okay? As I mentioned in other episodes before, first of all, work on yourself. Develop your skill set first. Okay? Observe yourselves. So please, what I want to give you as a kind of homework is, do nothing else in the next 2 weeks. Observe yourself if you are triggered by something, whatever it is. Find it out what it is. Really have a deep look. Really take the time, have a deep look. What is it exactly that triggers me? What is exactly? Can I control it or can't I control it? When I control it, okay, I fix it. If I don't control it, I stay focused again. How do you know that you're triggered, that you're in a negative content loop? As I mentioned in the episodes before, because of a behavior you show. This can be aggressive, you get aggressive, or you get passive, or you're trying to escape from a task, or from a task mainly. Okay? So when you have free of this behavior, you show free of this behavior, you know, oh, I'm in a negative content loop. This negative behavior was caused by negative emotions that overwhelmed me. And this negative emotion was caused by thoughts I had. And these thoughts came from a lack of clarity, a lack of data in it. Okay? So now go back and say, okay, what are the pressure points? Where does this come from? Do I have a problem that I'm not aligned with the company goals? Am I triggered by changes? Am I triggered by traumas? Am I not happy with the resources I have, the systems I have, or not happy with the outcome and target? So, as I mentioned before, first of all, observe yourself for the next 2 weeks. Work on yourself first. Fix it first on yourself. And when you have fixed it, then you can become a role model, and then you can help your team members. When you see somebody in your team not behaving like he or she should be, find out what triggers this person and help this person out, fix and solve the problem so this person can perform and stay on task again. How we do this and what we need, like mental strength, I will talk about in the next episode on coming Tuesday, same time. I will talk about mental strength. What is mental strength? How you become mental strengthful, and then we continue the journey towards staying on task. I thank you very much for listening to me. And as I mentioned, you can always listen to the recording. And if you want to go deeper and really become a high performance leader with a high performance team, I'm more than happy to help you with my team. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Until the next one.
Congratulations. That was very exciting, and good graphics as well. We do have some comments from a Facebook user. Very interesting and helpful. Thank you, Roland Friedl. And
thank you for the feedback.
From Alexia Willen, thank you for sharing. And I did see a couple comments over on YouTube as well. So nice job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I have your contact information right here for people to reach out to you.
Yes, the best way to reach out for me is go on my main website. It's my name, rolandfriedl.com. For those who are listening on a radio station, on a podcast, I will spell it for you. It's ROLANDFRIEDL.com. And from there, you can link to the topics and the areas you're looking for.
Roland, before we close out, I would love to just have you share for people joining us. There's a new show for men by men and about men, and it's starting next week. What can you tell us about it?
Well, actually, from this background that I'm working with a lot of executives all over the world, and mostly they're male ones, mostly. Luckily, it's changing, but mostly I was working with male ones, and I found out that they're facing the same issues that I had in my earlier years. That I was trained, educated, and thrilled not to show emotions. Emotions are weak, especially in business, but in the military and so on. And over the years, I found out that this was. I thought I'm tough, but I found out no, it's not really helpful, especially in relations with other people, and especially in relation with my love. So I learned that I have to think about my emotions, to recognize them, to name them, to spell them, to speak them out, and to share them with my beloved from to build up intimacy. And I found out that many other men are facing the same issues. And we men are more and more challenged the last decades. And that's why we start the show coming soon, Wild at Heart. To be honest, I took this title from a book by John Eldridge, who wrote a lot of books about men's and men's group. Wild at Heart, and we call them real, authentic, and uncut, because there's so much fake stuff outside. And to be honest, as a manager and as executive and man, how many of us are really wearing a mask? And I did it in the past too, wearing a mask, not showing my how am I really, what I feel really, what's me. And it's time to get rid of this mask. And what I found out is men need other men to talk. That's why we bring the show up. It's a show by men, for men, about men, and I'm very excited about this, to continue 1,000 years of rituals that we did, this bonfire talk, sitting around on a bonfire and have a communication with other men. And that's what we do at USA Global TV. And I'm very happy that you, Dr. Jacqueline, and your company, USA Global TV and Radio, provides this platform so we can do this. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we have another comment from Andre Holland. Thank you for your experience and time.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Roland, I will let you go for now and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Dr. Jacqueline. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Well, that wraps it up for our shows for today. So if you are new and joining us for the first time, we live stream from Monday through Friday, and we typically have between 20 and 25 shows a week. We are going to be going up to 30 shows very soon, and each show has a different topic, a different co-host potentially, and a different talking head presenter. So please do go over to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV, and subscribe. That would be fantastic. And this way you can be reminded of all of our upcoming programming. We're also on the radio, so you can take us with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can also watch our shows over on our website, which is usaglobaltv.com. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for sharing the word about what we're doing here with your network. We are growing and we just really appreciate it. Our goal here is entertainment, education, inspiration, and hope. Thank you again. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, Roland, and thank you to each and every one of you. Bye for now.